Have you ever noticed that you understand people before they explain themselves? Not in a dramatic way, not like a special skill, just quietly. You sense when something is off, you feel tension before it's named. You notice shifts in mood that nobody talks about, and most of the time, you don't say anything. You stay quiet. Not because you don't care, not because you don't have thoughts, but because speaking feels unnecessary, or maybe unsafe. You've probably been like this for as long as you can remember. People comment on it sometimes. They say you're quiet, reserved, hard to read. But what they don't see is how much you're actually taking in. You're not absent. You're deeply aware. And that awareness didn't come from nowhere. Quiet people don't listen the same way others do. They don't just hear words, they hear tone, they notice timing. They feel the space between cooking sentences. You notice when someone answers too quickly or too carefully. You notice when a smile arrives late. You don't analyze it. Your body just knows. And because this awareness feels natural to you, you assume everyone experiences the world this way. They don't. Most people are busy thinking about what to say next. You're busy noticing what's actually happening. That's why you often understand people before they understand themselves. And why conversations can feel strangely tiring. You weren't born over-aware, you learned it. Quietly, gradually, often early. Maybe you grew up in an environment where moods changed without warning, where reading the room mattered, where staying alert helped you adapt. So you learned to watch. You noticed facial expressions, tone shifts, silences. You learned when to speak and when not to. Awareness became safety. And once your nervous system learns that, it doesn't forget. Even when you grow up, even when you're safe, you're still watching, still sensing, still understanding. Over time, this awareness becomes your role. You become the listener, the one people open up to, the one who understands. People feel seen around you, but rarely ask how you feel, and you rarely offer it. Because somewhere along the way you learned that being low maintenance made life smoother. So you hold your inner world quietly, you process alone. And the more you understand others, the less understood you feel. Understanding people deeply comes with a cost no one talks about. You absorb emotional weight. You excuse behavior because you see where it comes from. You stay longer than you should, not because you're weak, but because you understand. Over time, you may feel tired without knowing why. Not physically, emotionally. It's the exhaustion of always being aware without being held. For someone who understands everyone, being seen can feel surprisingly hard. Not because you don't want connection, not because you don't want closeness, but because being visible once felt risky. At some point in your life, you learned that attention came with consequences. Maybe when you spoke up, things got tense. Maybe when you expressed a need, it was ignored or minimized. So you learned to stay contained, to wait, to listen, to let others take the lead. And even now, when no danger is present, your body remembers. So instead of stepping forward, you step back. Instead of explaining yourself, you let yourself be misunderstood. Not because you believe you deserve it, but because it feels familiar. In relationships, this pattern becomes especially clear. You tend to understand your partner before they finish speaking. You anticipate needs. You notice changes in mood. You adjust without being asked. And because you do this so naturally, it often goes unnoticed. You become the emotional stabilizer, the calm one, the patient one. But slowly, something shifts. You start feeling unseen inside the relationship, not unloved, just overlooked. Because when you're always adapting, no one realizes you need space too. And asking for that space can feel strangely difficult. Many quiet people carry a quiet exhaustion. Not the kind that comes from doing too much. The kind that comes from holding too much. You hold. Unspoken tension. Emotional nuance other people's moods. You notice everything. And noticing everything takes energy. Especially when you don't feel safe putting that awareness down, so you stay alert, even in rest, even in silence. This isn't weakness. It's a nervous system that learned to stay awake. The problem was never your awareness. It was the direction it was aimed. You were taught to look outward, to monitor, to adapt, to understand. Healing begins when you gently turn that awareness inward. When you pause and ask, what am I feeling right now? What do I need in this moment? Where am I shrinking? At first, this feels unfamiliar, even uncomfortable. But slowly, something changes. You begin to include yourself in the same care you offer others. And that's when awareness becomes grounding and instead of exhausting. If you're quiet and you understand everyone, there is nothing wrong with you. Your sensitivity has a history. Your awareness was learned for a reason. You are not passive. You are perceptive. But you don't need to disappear to stay safe anymore. You don't need to understand everyone before understanding yourself. Quietness can be strength. Awareness can be balance. And when you finally include yourself in that understanding, something softens, something settles. Sometimes the quietest people carry the deepest insight. The work now is learning to let that insight rest inside you too.